Hey, what's up guys, this is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at NECA's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon DIRTBAG and GROUNDCHUCK, a couple of figures which are particularly of interest to me because I had the figures as a kid and I'm happy to have them now. The more they get into this line, the more I'm liking it because we're starting to really see some of the varied characters, and I think it's going to make for a really fun collection. Despite the lack of posability on some of them, the aesthetic is going to be enough that I think most people who are into turtles are going to have a good time having these on the shelf. So let's go ahead and get these guys off the stand and take a closer look. We are going to do them both in one review, so we're just going to kind of take turns going back and forth. This guy stands about 14.5 centimeters to the very top of his head. That's going to make him about 5 3/4 inches, and that would make this guy, well, it doesn't make him, but he is a little bit taller, and that's about, let's say, I don't know, a little over 6 inches, not counting the horns, and that's going to make him close to 16 centimeters. He's a little bit taller, not by a lot, but he is. And we're just going to go ahead and do the aesthetic of both at the same time. It's generally the same level of detail everywhere. But before we do that, let's do a quick question of the day. How do you guys feel about the 2-packs, the way NECA's doing it? I personally am not usually a fan of 2-packs because it forces you to buy what you may not want in order to get what you do want. But in this case, I don't think people are doing that much cherry picking. I think they're going to grab everything, so I don't mind it as much. But you guys can let me know how you feel. So yeah, these guys are painted wonderfully. They do have the cartoon style with the black heavy lines and flat uniform color throughout. We have the two-tone thing going on. We have the dark gray on this guy and the dark red on this guy. It works nice. The clothes have the two-tone. All the details do. All the line work on here is super clean. Very aesthetically pleasing. They look just like they came out of the cartoon, and they do harken back to the old toys more than enough to hit that nostalgia button. So aesthetically speaking, these guys are going to be a 9.9 out of 10. As usual, NECA nailed it. They look really freaking good. Now, as far as accessories go, they do both come with fist hands in the package. Then we do get a set of gripping hands for each and a set of relaxed hands for each. I think that is fine. We do get the dirt pile for DIRTBAG, which apparently you're supposed to be able to pop him in half and set him in there, so it looks like he dug out. I can't get mine to come apart without heating it, and I haven't tried heating it, so that's not good for people who don't know about that kind of thing. So that's a bit of a bummer. But we do get the drill thingy and some other little thingy and a shovel, and then we get the bolt type gun and some other little communicator type device. I don't know what these things are anymore. I don't remember if they were ever used in the show or not, but that's a good spread of accessories. I'll take that. 9 out of 10. That's pretty cool. All right, now it's time for articulation. We're going to do DIRTBAG first. There's a ball peg for the head, but it doesn't look up and down very much at all. Maybe if you hit it with a hairdryer, it'll work better, but mine does not want to go. And I always review these things as they come out of the package for those of you who maybe are new to collecting or don't have a hairdryer or whatever the case may be. I never prep the figures for review. I want you to see exactly what you're going to get when you buy the figure as best as I can show it. So the head does feel a little bit more limited. It does want to fight me a little bit on there, but it works. But it doesn't work as well as it should. The mouth does open, which is actually really nicely detailed. They did a great job with that. Brings the figure to life. I love that. Shoulders are on a ball hinge. Arms don't go quite up horizontal, but probably good enough. They do rotate all the way around. Bicep swivel is on there. That one's stuck. This one works just fine. So again, a little bit of hairdryer, or even just run it under some hot tap water. Do not use boiling water, and you should free those up, but the bicep swivel works just fine. Double jointed elbow works really well. They're very chunky guys, and they have better than 90-degree range. So NECA nailed those elbow joints. Love that. Wrists have a swivel and a hinge. The gripping hands do have the standard horizontal rather than the vertical hinge. But again, these guys aren't super posable, so I don't think that's going to be that much of an issue. We do have a ball peg for the torso, which does allow him to lean side to side if you're careful. It does go back and forward a little bit as well. You just have to lift that belly up over the belt, and it does work. So that's pretty cool. It is kind of loose though, but it's not, probably won't be too much of a problem. For the hips, they're just ball pegs, and we have a flexible piece here, but you want to be super careful flexing that because this is the kind of plastic that tends to have the paint come apart or chip. I can't tell. It might be molded in black, and if it is, then you don't have to worry as much. But you're not going to get a ton of range out of the hips. They move around quite a lot like the old Ninja Turtles figures, like the old ones. So you're not getting a ton out of that. You do get a little bit of a swivel. The double jointed knee is sculpted really well to have the tear the way it is, and you do get decent range out of that knee. The ankle on this side goes pretty far back and pretty far forward, and you get an okay rocker. And on this side, it's a little bit better, maybe going back, a little bit worse going forward, and about the same for the rocker. The hinges are offset, which is weird. If you look at the knee hinge, generally speaking, you want your knee hinge and ankle hinge to line up, but they don't. They're on a different axis, which is a little bit strange. And it's the same on both sides. It's not a huge deal, of course, but it makes the ankle rocker work weird, and that's not great. Then lastly, we do have a ball peg for the tail, which does give you some decent range. Probably a double ball peg. Does work, so that's cool. I guess extra lastly is, this isn't really articulation, but the bag does open up if you want it to, so that's cool. So yeah, articulation on this guy's pretty solid. We're gonna go ahead and review this guy also, and then we'll do a final verdict for the articulation because it's about the same. This guy's neck is just a little bit better articulated, a little bit better range. That's pretty good. Mouth does open, though not as much. I do wish they would have painted his top teeth, the black line in there, but I'd probably leave his mouth closed anyway. Shoulder pad is connected to the body for both shoulder pads, so that is going to get in the way a little bit. And the arms don't go up quite as far on this guy. Rotation does work. Bicep swivel is stuck there and there. Can't get either biceps to work. They should though, like there's nothing in the way, so it's a matter of freeing up the joint and you should be okay. Elbow joint on this guy. Oh man, this guy is stiff. There we go. That's what she said. It works just fine once you get it going. So again, big bulky elbows, no problem there. Wrists have the same swivel and hinge. His torso joint seems to be about the same, although he's got a little bit of a bulkier belly down here, like underneath the shirt, and then he has a belt on here, so it's going to be a little bit more limited, but it does rotate, and it does lean some, not a ton. He has very floppy ball peg hips, very, very floppy. You do get a thigh swivel on there, which is nice, but the hips are very floppy. So you can pose him, but he's not going to really want to hold that pose all that well. So be careful with that. You might be able to slide something in there, pop the leg off carefully and slide something in there like some paper or some plastic, and you should be good. Somebody recommended something to me the other day that I hadn't thought of that you could use as a nice layer in there to add a buffer, but I can't remember what they said. But I always use just like a plastic bag, Ziploc bag, that kind of thing that can work. Or even just a touch of paper tends to work too, because it has a little more friction. But you do get decent range, and the loincloth is flexible enough, so that's good. Thigh swivel, like I said. Double jointed knees, they work surprisingly well, despite his little stumpy legs, so that's good. And his ankles, this side, it goes almost no forward at all, like virtually none. It goes back a little bit, and the ankle rocker is almost nothing. The fur just gets in the way too much. On this side, we get a little bit better going back, and not much going forward at all, and again, a lousy ankle rocker. So again, NECA definitely focused on the aesthetic and gave you enough articulation to make it count, but again, these guys are not really intended for like dynamic posing. So the articulation, while it's what they chose to do, it's not good. So I'll only give the articulation I'm gonna say 6 out of 10. It's not very good. It is enough, I would say, for the aim that they were going for. They're not super great at posing, but they are pretty great at everything else, so I think that's fine. That's their prerogative. They're allowed to do that, and I guess most people like it because their turtle line is super successful. So anyway, final verdict on this 2-pack. I'm going to say it's a 9 out of 10. As usual, NECA nailed the cartoon aesthetic. They nailed the sculpt. The articulation's good enough to get by, and the accessories are awesome. So yeah, I'm very happy with these guys, and I think most people are too. Let me know how you feel about that question of the day. How do you feel about 2-packs? That's the thing. And if you haven't subscribed, you might want to. I have new videos almost every single day and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.